3.1 Practice and research, large scale samples and refining ideas. Now, I got to the point at this part of the project that I just knew, gut feeling told me that I wanted to go large scale with the circle, large scale with my materials, and just large scale with the proportions of these samples. And it also was important to select and sort what materials that I was going to use, things like the knitted cord, expanding the knitted cord and making knitted tubes, which were bigger, so that I could make bigger samples. Changing the idea of the circle, making the circle two-dimensional to about the size of a plate, and then making the circle three-dimensional so that it became a ball with inside its own constructed material. The red knitted wool, my traditional mixed media, became knitted. So I've started to reevaluate the techniques of the wool thread, from knitted French cord to knitting tubes. And also there was an introduction of weaving onto various objects, even though they might be circular, but weaving onto various materials. All of these, the aim behind these ideas was to now engage in sensory, tactile, colourful, visual pieces. And it was also important to start thinking about joining the shapes together to make them even bigger. So the making process took longer, which I think at this point is important, which has enabled me to reduce down making lots and lots of samples, spending longer making these samples bigger. There was some work involved. You will see on my blog that I've demonstrated the scale of these samples by pegging them on the line. Took lots of photographs, and they have become very colourful. But the one thing that I think is quite interesting behind all of this is they have all now started to become very mature, not just primary like craft-based. They feel like proper textiles. So it was just really interesting to actually start to engage with the purpose. The textiles have now got a purpose rather than just becoming an idea on a piece of paper or a photograph of a little sample that I put together, or they're not just a little mini project anymore. I would have said I've made these samples now more serious. Played around with a few ideas. Put them in the spare room at the moment because I've got brand new plastered walls painted white. So that was fantastic to display them on the wall. I've also, which I don't want to show yet, I've made videos. Went to a friend's, and she's a school teacher. She has children who are dyslexic, so I thought that was important to carry out as part of my strategies. So I've made a few videos. She sits in front of the camera and she talks about the colour, the materials and the tactility. So obviously you can see now I'm drawing and I'm continuously using my research and feeling out and pulling together the critical essay and starting to pull together. And I think now the work is starting to channel through. So I think I have a good direction and a good sense of where I'm going now that I've identified a little bit more with colour and concentrated and focused on my mixed media with my materials and making use and making good decisions, intuitive decisions. So this was even though this was a challenge, I think it's pretty positive. So a lot of this work now is going to start to move, which I'm going to use. I'm not going to necessarily start to make new samples. I need to focus on utilising these samples. I think a few ideas are going to pop through I could do this or I could do that or I could tweak. But I now want to start to put together some new ideas and really push these samples. I wouldn't say to the limits, but make a conclusion of all of the research on dyslexia and all of the artists and the practitioners that have inspired my work that have brought me to this point. So I'm kind of looking forward to moving forward for Project 8.